Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's President's virtual town hall. My name is Sandra Banks, and I work here at the University as Vice President, University Relations. I'm also delighted to serve as your host and MC for this afternoon's town hall. This is our fourth virtual town hall since May of this year, and I have to say they're starting to feel almost normal. Not ideal and not perfect, but a big part of our efforts to all stay connected. It's been 7 months of new realities and new routines, and for all of us, whether we're studying, working, doing what we do on behalf of the University of Waterloo. Whether you are a student, a staff or faculty member, or a member from the broader community, we welcome you here today and we value your input and questions as we go through the town hall. The disruptions this year have required all of us at the university to develop new approaches and solutions. We want you to know that we value your feedback and your questions as we continue to respond to the pandemic and make plans for the future. And of course, we would welcome questions on topics on a broad range, including topics other than the COVID-19 pandemic, but all of your questions and comments are certainly welcome. On behalf of the President of the University and the leadership, I want you to know that we are here to listen as well as to engage in the conversation. Now, in terms of the format for today, we will of course hear first from our President. That will be followed by a Q&A session with you immediately following the presentation. You will notice currently in our Teams live event Q&A, that section is not yet open. It will be open for your input at the conclusion of the presentation. So we are ready to get underway. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Feridun Hamdullahpur, President and Vice Chancellor at the University of Waterloo, to help us kick off this town hall. Feridun.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And I also take this opportunity to thank my Executive Council colleagues who are here also with me this town hall. As Sandra mentioned, I recall our May town hall meeting, a special meeting we held, and many of you participated at that event. And I had sincerely hoped and expressed my desire that next time when we have this October, or sometimes it's in October, sometimes it's in November town hall meeting, that we will be doing it in person at our usual meeting place at Fat Hall. And I had also mentioned that we couldn't do in-person convocation in June, but we were hoping that we will make up for it in October. This is where we are today. I'm sure you're all well aware the complexities and the other difficulties that came into the picture, that not only were we not able to do our October convocation in person, which took place, by the way, last week, was fantastic, the ceremonies, but also this town hall. Nevertheless, I think it is very important that we have this gathering. We have an opportunity to talk to each other, well, as Sandra said again, in this new normal fashion. And I will express my desire again that next time, hopefully it will be in person, things will improve. We were hoping that it will have improved already, but again, we're not out of the woods yet. And the size and nature and boundaries of the woods are constantly changing. But I'm also at the same time tremendously grateful to all of you, our incredible staff members, faculty members, our students, for your perseverance, for your determination that we will make it work. And we have. Again, I mentioned it several times that we didn't take a lot of time to pivot. That was earlier this year, and then continued on to a successful summer spring session. And here we are now, halfway through our fall session. And we were able to bring many of our services back on campus. I'm really delighted to see so many students back on campus. Of course, it could have been a lot more, but nevertheless, we have students who return to campus. Undergraduate students, graduate students, some of our postdocs. As you know, it was an absolutely necessary decision for us to shut down all research labs for safety reasons, and I'm really glad that almost all of them, with the exception of few, they're back in operation. They're open, and I'm also proud to share with you that we are taking ownership of the solution for the COVID-19 pandemic. So 68 different University of Waterloo research projects are underway to find a solution for one or another aspect of this pandemic. We also share this with all of you, and I'm again so grateful that many of you are truly protecting other warriors, that we said practice these very practical but common sense precautions, hand washing to wearing masks and distancing, and you're all doing this. Thank you so much again. We wouldn't be here having this conversation had it not been, again, for your understanding, cooperation, perseverance, and taking ownership of this issue with all of us. So it will be also appropriate to talk about a little bit. I mean, I know that COVID-19 pandemic is top of mind for all of us, but at the same time, we are not forgetting the reason why we are here. We are not. We are dealing with this situation. We're coping with it. We're handling it the best possible way we can. But at the same time, we realize our very core mission as to why we are here. So let me give you a little bit of the situation analysis, but let me just pause for a second. I was so excited to get this going. I neglected a very important part of this conversation that I should have at the beginning of our conversation. I should have given you the acknowledgement of the land we are situated. Again, let me offer my respect, past and present elders of the Neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, and respectfully acknowledge that the University of Waterloo is situated on their traditional land, the Haldeman Tract, the land that is promised to the Six Nations people on each side of the Grand River. And I apologize again that I did not make this acknowledgement in the beginning. So coming back, we have about 37,000 students right now enrolled in our programs. About 2,000 of these students are enrolled in one or another sort of in-person class. This would have been a very different number last year, of course, but at least some students are here and they are enrolled in in-person classes, of course, smaller size or lab classes. I'm delighted that, again, 21% of our undergraduate students are international and 33 are graduate students are international. And this is how we started our fall season, fall session, and this is how it is continuing. At the same time, we work very hard, especially a number of people in health services, to ensure that our students, staff, and faculty will have access to our COVID-19 assessment and testing center here without having to go to off-campus places. This has been in operation since October 1st. We had designed this facility for a much larger capacity, but we are dealing with between 35 to 65 tests per day, only for those people who are symptomatic. That's what we are allowed to do, but I'm really glad that we were able to offer this service to our faculty, staff, and students. And if situation changes, and if we get the proper approvals, we hope to be able to expand this to family members of our students, faculty, and staff. Hopefully, this will be announced sometime in the next couple of weeks, as soon as we have the right approvals. So, I think also this is a good opportunity for us to talk about how we are doing as an institution. I think I get a chance to inform our board or Senate at our meetings, but to the general university community, I think we should look at our performance indicators and see, as a university, are we heading in the right direction? Are we doing the things that that are congruent and appropriate for our strategic plan? As you can see, this year, despite all our fears and anxieties, I was delighted with many of you that our enrollment went up. It's a good indication of institutions' reputation and health, that compared to the previous year, our enrollment went up by 2.1%. It's a very healthy growth. The number of degrees we awarded went up. That means our completion rates are better. We were able to, despite financial uncertainties and difficulties, we were able to add net new faculty members and staff members to the university. They were essential, absolutely, to deliver and fulfill our obligations for the delivery of our programs. I am absolutely delighted with one particular performance indicator, and that is our retention rate, first year to second year retention rate. It has continued to improve, and we are at the climax of 94.3% retention rate that we've never had before. And I'm absolutely, again, grateful to so many people, first and foremost, of course, our faculty members and Student Success Center and others who made it a priority to ensure that our students are very successful in their first year and coping well with the transition to a university environment. Co-op, I want to spend a couple of minutes on co-op. As you can see, both co-op enrollment and earnings, average earnings per student, were part of our strategic plan objectives and performance indicators. You will see that both went up. Of course, this is, again, there are good indicators of the quality and caliber of our institution, as well as the power of the co-op program that it's going up. And right under that, the employment rate, normally, usually it hovers around 98%. You see a drop to 92%. Of course, this is averaging. But at one point during the peak of the pandemic or beginning, our co-op student placement rate went quite down. It was a huge concern for us because the businesses were basically closed down. Well, some businesses, they just didn't exist, who would have hired our co-op students or who had made offer to our co-op students. So through a Herculean effort of our first co-op office and everybody who worked there and our employers, everybody, we have been able to bring it as close as to 86%. It is not where it was before, but it is well above anybody else in the world or anywhere else in the world. So there is hope that this will improve. At the same time, the nature of co-op jobs is changing, and it is one of the top priorities of this university because this is so important, not just to the university, but to the entire world as to the kind of impact our students make, and the role of co-op in that impact is phenomenal. So this is one of our top priorities, to ensure that we will bring our co-op employment rates back to the pre-pandemic levels. You see our research revenues. Again, it is at a fantastic level. If you see the difference between the previous year and this year, because that year, 18 and 19 was a very special year that we had very large number of revenues, but at the same time, we see some fluctuations and also disappearance of some government matching funding that played a role, but our projectile is still quite optimistic going into the next year that our sponsored research revenue will keep going up, and universities' operating revenues are also up. So just a very quick overview of the health, both academic and financial health of the university. I think we should. So what can we tell? What is waiting for us? What's up ahead? It's a really, really important question, and it is not just for me or any other university leader or even business leader. It's impossible to give a clear, definitive answer. We can make some predictions, we can make some guesses, and they will have to be based on facts and information we have. Right now, we had earlier on, in the summer, we said, look, it's uncertain, but this is how we foresee that the fall term is gonna go ahead, and we did that. We have done the same thing for the winter term, and earlier on indicated that winter 2021 will look very similar to fall 2020. I'm hoping that things will improve significantly, but may not. The resurgence of a number of cases in Europe and other parts of the world, they are giving us quite a bit of anxiety, and but we are being more cautious than optimistic at this point. And as the situation improves, and we will revisit what we have in place, but so far, winter term, we are quite certain what the winter 2021 will look like. And I don't want to talk about spring 2021 at this point. We have a lot of conversations and thoughts going through. Of course, we are getting ready for the entire year, but so far as making definitive decisions, we'll just limit it to winter 2021. That's where we are. We are very much in tune with the federal government directives, provincial government directives, and of course, public health and other agencies' guidance and directives. And this is the best we can right now say about what lies ahead for the university. We will be able to, we have put in place a very comprehensive plan for accommodating international students who are not here yet, but who are planning or to come to the University of Waterloo. From A to Z, we have a comprehensive plan which is under government review right now, but we are confident that that plan will be quite comprehensive for us to be able to move ahead with international students. So, few words about, we talked about our strategic plan quite a bit, various venues. It is extremely important, of course, as to how we are aligned with the future and how we are determined not just to be part of this picture, but to be part of building that future. And we listed a number of signature commitments. You will remember that there were 7 of them. Now on this slide you see 6 because the 7th encompasses all of them. That is our community building, and to have a kind of community that is caring, inclusive, and global. So with that, all of these signature commitments are very much actively in place. We are making progress. At the same time, for many of them, we believe that the pandemic played a very significant role to look at them through a different set of lenses. For example, when we talked about some innovative pathways for teaching and learning, and we have right now our flexible pathways, as we called it later, that we need to pay significant attention to what the future of teaching and learning will look like. We did before, but it is further amplified, as you could see, the kind of, the situation we're going through. I will take this opportunity, however, also mention that while we adapted perfectly, and our instructors, our professors, our students, they are right now, as I speak, engaged in this remote teaching and learning exercise, and our staff are being tremendously supportive. It is not without a cost. It is, I'm aware that the stress, additional anxiety, and our overall mental health being, they're all kind of, took a different perspective. So as we are building our technology-based capabilities, we also need to remember and acknowledge and work towards solutions that teaching cannot take place in isolation. It's a community effort, and we need to do it whichever way we're doing it, in the best blended way. This has to be part of that offering. So a few other things I should bring to your attention before I stop and engage in conversation and the formal question and answers. As you will recall, again, we embarked upon a big commitment on anti-racism, and we announced a task force, and then we heard from a lot of people, a lot of our members of our community, students, faculty, staff, to take other factors into consideration, to take our time to listen, and listen. And we have, since then, we have conducted a large number of consultations, especially with BIPOC members of our community. And we were also told very clearly that although anti-racism work needs conversations, consultations, listening, and guidance by our BIPOC members, it also needs to be fully inclusive of everybody at the University of Waterloo, and I'm really pleased that it's happening. I'm delighted with large number of people wanting to take part in establishing our incredibly important footprint on our efforts to our anti-racism, and making this campus, this university, tremendously proud of its inclusivity and its awareness of anti-racism. We developed a forum called a community collaborative. Again, it's been fantastic to get the kind of input and guidance from by this committee. So we are moving forward. There are a number of developments that we have informed our campus community together with Senate and board at various levels. This is moving towards absolutely moving in the right direction, and soon we will be able to inform our campus community with further developments and next steps. Another thing that I'm pleased to be able to report that universities own sustainability efforts. In addition to so many things that are in play, and the university is doing through its scholarship, research, teaching, and other very active activities, we also need to set an example in ourselves that we are practicing actually what we're preaching, that our GHH GHG footprint, for example. Many of you will notice that we said, hey, our emissions went up by 8%, and you have a right to know why is this so. So we have scheduled a special town hall just for this subject on November 10th, and I hope that together with Matt Thiessen and Jean Entry and other colleagues, we will be able to have an in-depth conversation on the university's sustainability update. COVID-19 kind of threw a dark blanket over a number of things, but didn't mean that the climate change issue, many of the sustainability issues went away. On the contrary, they are very much there. We are experiencing those every single day, and it is, as an institution, our responsibility to acknowledge those appropriately and show our community and the world what we are doing about it. And mental health. As I mentioned earlier, the President's Advisory Committee on Student Mental Health, they have worked tirelessly, excellent number of recommendations. Many of those recommendations have been completed. Some of them are still in progress working towards. But again, those were made in a pre-COVID era. Since then, we have a number of new challenges, especially on our originating from being in isolation, remote learning, and many other factors that the university is very much aware of those, and we have made counseling services available virtually if they're not available in person, making sure that our faculty, staff, and students, they have access to mental health resources all the time. And we'll continue working on this and be very open about these issues and provide an open forum for everybody, staff, faculty, and students to talk about the additional challenges the current situation brings on. With that, I think I exceeded my time of 20 minutes by 3 minutes or 2 minutes, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you. Over to you, Sandra.
Well, let us thank you, Feridun. That was a great update. You certainly covered a lot of very important ground, and so we thank you for that. So we will move on to the Q&A format today, which will be a mix of questions that we received in advance and those that we receive from you over the next hour or so. You should now see that the live event Q&A is open on the right side of our Teams screen, and certainly we invite you to submit your questions. If you attended previous town halls, you will know that Feridun will be joined on the Teams stage or the Teams screen by other leaders of the Executive Council. So we look forward to hearing from them and welcoming them as we move through this Q&A session. We're asking that you reserve the Q&A panel for questions and not use it as a chat so that we can track and not lose any of your important questions. We did receive almost 60 questions in advance, and we'll do our best to include, as I said, a mix of both kinds of questions as we go through the discussion today, and know that we will provide answers to all questions, including those that we may not get to during the town hall. And as in the past, the answers to all questions will be posted on the President's Town Hall along with a recorded video of this afternoon's event. So let's get underway, Feridun. We're going to kick off with a few high-level themes that came in our earlier submitted questions. And there is obviously, it would be no surprise to know there's a lot of interest in the longer term opportunity or practice of working from home. And so the question is the university thinking about letting employees maintain some of that work from home flexibility even after the pandemic is over?
Thank you, Sandra. Like all questions, of course, a good question. the whole world is trying to find an answer to what work is going to look like post-pandemic. One thing we're sure that when we get to that back to normal life stage, hopefully sometime, that normal life will look from many perspectives different from what it looked like pre-pandemic. Why? There were a number of possibilities even before pandemic. For example, for the university to be able to fully offer hybrid type of blended learning type of education opportunities to students. We had already in place working from home opportunities. So as we are moving forward, we will see that some of the work that we are currently doing it from here or used to do it on campus doesn't have to be. But we don't know exactly how they are related to others and what the nature of those jobs are. We have to go through, and we are going through, a very critical analysis as to what that will look like. At the end of the day, it has to be in the best interest of our stakeholders, students, and best interest of the university. If some jobs could be wonderfully done from home, and if it is it complies with everything else we have in place, we will encourage to do so. Some jobs will not be possible to do remotely, and we will have to continue doing them on campus. So we don't exactly know. I don't have a list right now saying that here, category A and category B, and this could be done differently. One thing I am certain, however, that those jobs that could be done remotely, we do not want to continue doing it as many of you have done wonderfully. We occupied your kitchen table, we took your living room desks and chairs. It has to be done properly. It has to be done with proper resources and taken into consideration that it doesn't eat into, there's a separation between work and family and home, and it is done at the most professional level. So it's too early right now, Sandra, to say that yes, we have it all figured out. We have not, but there will definitely be a portion of what we do here or what we used to do here on campus could definitely be done off campus remotely.
Thanks, Feridun. We may get other questions on this area, given it's such a big part of our experience working right now. So we're happy to come back to those. For now, I may just go to a question about some of the, I guess, operational or cost considerations of working from home. Specifically, if the university is considering how to cover some expenses, or if there would be subsidies for things like internet or electricity consumption.
Yes, absolutely, Sandra. As I said, we need to do it in a way that is done appropriately and professionally. That we need to provide proper resources, and we are already doing some of those. And if there are expenses that are occurring because you're working from home, they are properly addressed. But maybe I can just ask Dennis Huber if he's able to just jump in and quickly tell us how this is being handled now, how expenses that are occurring for people who are working from home and how they are handled. Dennis, are you able to join?
Sure, Feridun, happy to answer the question with some more specificity. In the first instance, the
Dennis, I'll just interrupt. I'm hearing a bit of an echo. I don't know if there's anything you can do at your end to, maybe others aren't, but I was hearing an echo, Dennis.
I'll move away from, is that better, Sandra?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. So with more specifics, Feridun, there's two elements to the work from home expense profile. In the first instance, the university will be issuing T2200s, which allows employees to write off eligible expenses on their tax return. That's a provision under our tax system. And then the second one is we'll be issuing jointly, Jim and I, a letter to the community about what expenses are eligible for reimbursement by the university. That'll be coming out probably later this week.
Thank you, Dennis. So this will be for 2019-20 tax return, right?
The T2200 will be for the 2020 calendar year.
2020 calendar year. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. That is very helpful. I have a question. Again, it was submitted in advance, and we'll get to a broader variety very shortly. The question is about, it's really, there's two aspects to it. How is the university doing financially? Appreciated the high-level view that you shared, Feridun. How is the university doing generally financially? And will the hiring freeze be lifted and the 15% budget holdback be cancelled or addressed?
So I must say that I am absolutely grateful that for two reasons. One is the health of our enrollment this year, and also our very careful spending. And thanks to everybody's, participation there, the university at this point in time is in good financial health. However, as I said in the beginning, we're not out of the woods yet, and the dark clouds are very much present. So you will recall we instituted a hiring freeze, and we also instituted 15% budget holdback. I am grateful, together with Jim and everybody else, to our deans and all other members of the university for their understanding and collaboration. The provost is in conversations with deans, and part of that 15% holdback will be lifted, part of it, not the entire. And at the same time, given again some uncertainties, we will continue following a very careful hiring practices in strategically important areas by keeping the freeze in place, but not closing the door. On the contrary, opening it in some very critical areas. Maybe I should stop here and ask Jim to shed a little bit more light into it.
Sure, I'll just make a couple of comments to supplement what you said, Feridun, which was to just highlight that you will have seen the rather positive enrollment picture, which obviously translates into healthy enrollment-based revenues. The important thing just to understand next to that, of course, is that there have been extraordinary expenses that have been associated with COVID and with the transformation of our business that need to be taken into account as well, and that what you don't see are some on that high level are some other losses or lost revenues in certain units that are operating on campus that we need to take into account operationally as well. So nonetheless, it does put us in a position that, as Feridun said, the right thing to do is to partially return the holdback to allow for continually addressing our priorities right now, which are students and the capacity to offer our academic programming and to maintain healthy and safety working conditions. And we're in a position to do that. Conversations right now are with executive council members, but within a week or so, there'll be a broader communication to the community to provide clarity on exactly where we stand on those issues. And so I'll be following up in the next several days. Thanks for the opportunity to comment, Feridun.
Thanks, Jim. Very important context on some very big questions. We have a couple of questions, as you would imagine, relating to international students. And I'm hopeful that we may have many of our international students joining the town hall. The questions are, when will international students start coming back to campus? Okay,
first, hello to all international students. who may be watching this from various parts of the world, and it may be late for some of you, so thank you so much for being with us. It could be anytime. I'm really hopeful that for our winter term, we will see some new international students coming, but as I mentioned earlier on, the university very soon will have fulfilled its international student plan as to how we are planning to bring international students to our campuses. So we are open. We are just so anxious to welcome as many international students as those who are eligible, of course, to come to our campus and take part in our program. So this is where we are. We are fully able and open to welcoming international students.
Thanks, Feridun. I know we certainly do look forward to welcoming back more students at the right time and in the best way to keep everyone safe. And there's even more requirements as it relates to international students and returning to the country and what's required once they do. So we know it's a complicated but very important issue to address. There is another question about international student tuition fees and why they're at where they are and have continued to increase in terms of the tuition fees.
Sandra, again, I think it's a fair question about tuition fees in general. There should be no doubt whatsoever that our most important commitment to our students, not only that here is an opportunity for our students to come and study, but provide them with the highest quality of educational experience, personal and academic experiences. And that requires the kind of financial resources we are in need of, and part of it is with tuition fees. So the fact that we have switched to big part of our delivery mechanism to remote teaching and learning does not bring the cost of delivery of these programs at all. On the contrary, we needed to put a lot more resources to ensure that the quality is preserved and increased. So this is the reason why where the tuition fees are. We have not set tuition fees going forward yet, but we're bringing all the factors in under, again, the provost and the deans and others consideration. But this is where we are. I can assure you that every single dollar of your tuition fees are invested or reinvested in the delivery of the best quality programs to you.
Thanks, Feridun. There is one question that came in advance, and I don't want to lose track of it because it's so important, as are all the questions, but I don't want to lose track of this one that came in previously. What is the university doing to address diversity and inclusion, specifically around recruitment and promotion with staff to ensure marginalized groups have an equal opportunity?
Yes. I can talk a lot about this, and I will a little bit, but I will also give heads up to Jean Becker to jump in and to answer also part of this question. This is a big priority for us. This was a priority before. This is even a bigger priority now to make sure that our entire campus, not just the student body, not just the staff, faculty, but the entire campus is an inclusive campus, and regardless of where you see yourself, you will find your true reflection yourself, this campus, in various ways. We have taken a number of steps to make sure that our hiring committees are properly informed and are aware of all of these quite important issues, and that we are making sure that when we are out recruiting student or faculty or administrators, that we are looking at the best possible and widest possible way of inclusivity. Jean, would you mind just telling our community as to what specific measures we have taken to ensure that these are well done?
Yes, thank you so much, Feridun. I have been working closely with the Dean's Council, and I can tell you that every single one of the deans is absolutely committed to making sure that we are increasing as rapidly as possible, hiring diverse faculty to make sure that we have more diversity throughout the entire institution. So this is ongoing work, obviously. There's a lot of discussion happening. I am very grateful for the leadership of the research office. Charmaine Dean has been very active in addressing the concerns of the CRC program in regard to diversity, and we are very happy to have 3 new Indigenous CRCs who have started at in the Faculty of Arts and in the Faculty of Environmental Studies. So there's things happening. It obviously is not as fast as we wish that it could be, but we're very committed that we address this immediately and that we make a major impact in short order. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. Sandra, if I may also ask Marilyn Thompson if she is able to just jump in and tell us from HR perspective how we are handling our hiring practices.
Yes, thank you, Feridun, and great intro by Jean in that we're working very closely with the Equity Office on this. We're expanding the information that we have about candidates for positions. Currently, we don't collect enough information, so right from ensuring that we have really sound applicant pools and that we don't create any barriers for people to express their interest in coming to the university. So we're working with the Equity Office on that. We're also working with the Equity Office to expand what we know about our current employees so that we would be able to, again, ensure that we don't have any barriers in place for people coming to the university or progressing in their career through the university as well.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Jean. One more question, somewhat related, certainly, and we, with the President's Anti-Racism Task Force and the activity that has been underway through really the voluntary efforts of the Community Collaborative. There's other organizations that are coming together to engage on this topic, including Equity for Who. We also have a very specific question, though, that I think we should address if we can today, and it's this question: what should we do if we see, hear, or experience racism on campus or as part of University of Waterloo life?
There are various ways, all the way up to my office, but you know, if you see, hear, or witness, experience any of these things, please don't let it go, including, you know, go immediately wherever your supervisor is or chair or all the way up to this office. Let us know that it's happening, because at this institution there should be absolutely no place for any of these. So this is what I would say, that if anybody is seeing, witnessing, experiencing anything like this, please, there is a way, and you can go straight to the Equity Office, and they will be quite willing to hear and take action on this, or any other way you feel comfortable in letting us know.
Thank you, Feridun. Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to just address a question that came in advance. It's a very thoughtful question, Feridun. somebody really looking for some insights from you. And here's the question to Feridun. You would never have expected that in your last year as president, you would be leading us through a pandemic. What goals do you have for the next 8 months as you complete your term?
Sandra, since the beginning of the pandemic, I've had the opportunity to get a lot closer with many of my Canadian and other university president colleagues from around the world. And one of the jokes is that we never ever got this kind of question at our interviews. You know, how would you handle a pandemic as president? So yes, this was something that nobody was expecting, but at the same time, it is here. And as I get again, I'm tremendously proud and grateful of my colleagues that we've been able to move the university in a healthy way forward. My priorities are still in the and until the last day of my remaining 8 months is to ensure that the university is functioning at its highest capacity and effectiveness, and we are fulfilling our promise and mission to our students, to our faculty, colleagues, staff, that, you know, basically doing what we say we wanted to do and being very congruent and consistent with who we are as University of Waterloo. At the same time, my priority is to ensure that the University of Waterloo as a whole is absolutely future ready and is part of building that future. And while doing so, remind ourselves and practice it all the time that we are a responsible and caring community. It's not just about our excellence in certain areas or technology or, you know, so many areas that I will say we are proud of our educational, you know, philosophy, our strategic plan. On top of all of those, there's a reason why we are so ambitious about building that future, because of how we see that future. And from sustainability to climate to inclusivity to anti-racism, a caring, responsible institution. So those three are on top of my mind. I don't want to get into specifically, this is what I want to do in the digital area or lifelong learning, and they're all important, but those three are my main objectives. And I am looking forward to, of course, working on all of these with you and all my other colleagues for the remainder of, when is November 1st? Since it will be 8 months, 8 months and what, 1 day or 2 days?
That's wonderful. It's great to hear, and know that we'll be with you every step of the way on that journey over the next 8 months. So thank you. A question that's also very timely, coming from looks like a staff member. Has there been any discussion about staff annual appraisal processes this year? Will there be any changes? Can you add anything on that, Feridun, or others?
Should I ask Marilyn to answer this? I think I could answer, but I think her answer will be a lot more precise than mine.
I wouldn't want to presume to speak for the provost who would make the decision on that. However, I can say that we've been in discussion with the Staff Association about an alternative for this year. We recognize that it's been a different year for us, and we may need to think and look differently about how we have our performance appraisal process. We have a committee that looks at that, the Provost Advisory Committee on Staff Compensation. We're actually meeting tomorrow, and it will be discussed there, and I fully expect that we'll have a recommendation go to the provost from that committee.
Jim, I didn't know what time. I know you have to join the U15 call too, so.
Yep. No, I'm still good, yeah. I just wanted to reiterate, I'll be waiting, I'll be very receptive to receiving the recommendation that comes forward. very reasonable thing for us to be considering, and just in case there's anxiety around that issue, we're anticipating that a well-balanced proposal is going to come forward, and there'll be receptivity towards it. So I just wanted to send a signal that it's not some that it's not some process that doesn't have an end.
Great, thanks, Jim. We're going to move into a question about our grad students, and it is this. The university recently made a number of commitments aimed at improving a variety of business practices and conditions for graduate students. Why did you make those commitments, and what progress have you made in achieving them?
We made those commitments because they were the right thing to do. And I am grateful to, again, our deans, Jeff Casallo, and many other people who ensured that, you know, we were moving ahead with our commitment to our graduate students. They are, I mean, our students are I mean, I can't tell you enough how important it is, but graduate students add something very different. We are very proud to be a very student-focused institution. At the same time, we are immensely research intensive. Without graduate students, I can't even think of just even remotely being research intensive. So they bring that unbelievable intellectual, you know, capacity to the institution. And sometimes when you look at it, and many of us have been a graduate student and said, oh, they're in a different world than the one we were in. So we wanted to make sure that we are providing them with the best intellectually stimulating and supporting environment. So those are the reasons why we made those commitments. We are making progress, but no illusion. There is more to be done. They deserve more, and there is more to be done. And I thank Jeff and his leadership and the others for making sure that they are right on top of our minds. And I'll pass it over to you, Jeff. I know you can speak for a couple of hours on this, but keep it brief, please.
I will, Feridun, and you know, I think I just will echo everything you've said about the importance of graduate students and the incredible roles that they play. But you know, I think that we understand as an institution that there are the certain elements of being a graduate student that are exceptionally challenging, and the COVID-19 pandemic has certainly contributed to that. We know about funding levels, we know about work-life balance, we know about caring for families and for things that are happening for you personally at home. We know about your relationships with your supervisor and how important that is to being successful. And we are always in communications with our graduate students, with the graduate student leadership, and there's not a forum that I'm not part of in which all of us are thinking about the wellness and the well-being of our graduate students. And so I'll just say, you know, the evidence, I think, we hope is clear that not only are we making these commitments and acting on them, but the pathways for our graduate students to communicate with us the things that are of concern to them, and the very real commitment of all of the senior leadership at the University of Waterloo to addressing those concerns in a timely way. It's very real and it's very active. And you know, I just will echo Feridun and thank my colleagues at the Dean's table and all around the campus for their support of our graduate students.
Thank you, Jeff. There is a follow-up that appeared in the chat, and it's related, Jeff, to what you just answered, but it might be a little more specific, and it's always worth following up on. What, in addition to all of the things that you mentioned, what help can the university provide to grad students to get work in a tough market when they graduate?
Yeah, this is a question. We know that when you come back to graduate school, you're putting your career on hold, but we believe, and I think everyone understands, that you're acquiring a set of skills, not just in the depth of your research, but in your ability to think and systematically and solve complex problems. And it doesn't matter the discipline, that's the case. So we have a couple of things, Sandra. We have a professional development program that we run out of graduate studies and postdoctoral affairs called Grad Venture. It's intended to help with your professional skills and to make sure that you're well positioned to articulate those as you move into the job market. Of course, our Center for Career Action is a partner with us in many instances on developing programming, doing mock interviews, resume critiques, networking events. And so I really encourage our graduate student community to log into GradVenture, which is sort of the clearinghouse, and they'll find lots of information about the way that they can advance their professional opportunities.
Sandra, if I may just add a few more general observations. This applies to graduate students, but it also applies to all students and many of us. The other day, I had the opportunity to be part of this Fortune 500 companies global forum. In these conversations, it was revealed that 87% of these Fortune 500 companies, CEOs or chief executives, thought that skills gap will be one of their biggest challenge and risk. And they are looking at university graduates, specifically university graduates, to be able to fill that gap. Otherwise, 85 million jobs will go unfilled. And there is a tremendous opportunity, as Jeff mentioned. The depth is enormously important, but our ability to give them a little bit more breadth, that they are adaptable to various circumstances. One of the estimates is that 375 million people will have to reskill by 2030. So there's not a lot of time in 350 million people. So it presents tremendous leadership opportunities for our students, but especially our graduate students, because they will also have so much depth in some areas, but be able to connect those to other areas.
Thank you, Feridun. I'm going to ask a question that again came in, and it was a common one that came in advance, around in the midst of this period of pandemic and isolation and little travel, if any, how have our approaches to internationalization changed in the midst of COVID-19?
Mm-hmm. Our focus and our commitment on internationalization has not changed at all. On the contrary, it has gone up significantly. Even though my last travel, I'm trying to remember, probably early March. That was my last trip from Montreal to Toronto, or I had taken. That did not stop us from continuing to build our international partnership relationship and further networks, because moving forward, I know it's not the same as having this continuous movement of people and knowledge and all of those, but we've been able to do this remotely. I have been on a daily basis in contact with many of my colleagues, organizations from around the world. And you know what? Sometimes it would have been an impossible task to bring 10 people from various parts of the world in one room at the same time. We do this with a click of a switch. And we laugh and say we have solved the quantum entanglement issue. We could be not just at 2 places, but 5 places at the same time. So we are building our international footprint. We are expanding our networks. For example, we just had an event jointly with the University of Bordeaux. We will be having another colloquium with Strathclyde in Scotland. We will be having many more. We did a similar one in China. So it is moving absolutely nicely, because we realize that many of the global challenges that we're committed to tackle cannot be done by just one institution. We need our international partners. Within that partnerships, we will have faculties, graduate students, undergraduate students, exchange students moving constantly. If Basma is there, Basma, do you want to add a couple of more points there? if I missed anything. Or Christine?
We can always come back.
Sure.
We can queue them up for later. I'm just seeing a couple of questions come in, and I may just suggest that we invite Karen Jack to get ready to answer this. It is around the process of the presidential nominating committee, specifically if there are racialized students and staff members, employees represented in the committee process. If Karen is there, maybe she can shed a bit of light on this.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But I thought I'd check first rather than start. So thanks for the question. So the committee is policy based and is constituency based, but as it happens, I can confirm that indeed there are a good number of racialized individuals on the committee.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, I think we'll move on and move to a question about the return to research labs. So I'll just, in case Charmaine needs to stand by, and the question really is about why there is so much process. Indeed, perhaps bureaucracy in the process for return to research. I don't know if you can comment on that, Charmaine. The question came in advance, and obviously we have a lot of research capacity that's come back, and so it's an important question.
Before that, Sandra, I should say that there is not bureaucracy, but there is process because it is so important. Because we are so caring and careful because it's so important. It's not bureaucracy, it's proper process, but it takes time. Charmaine, and you and your colleagues have done an incredible job ensuring that most of our research labs, research operations back here, and they are functioning wonderfully well.
I'm happy to take the question, Feridun. I mean, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind having a minute or so to explain process. So, you know, when we were hit with the pandemic at the beginning of early March, where we had to all leave campus, in order to operate in a lab, you need to have safety rules in place. So for example, if the fire rules need to be in place. If you want to work with uranium, then you need to have rules regarding how to operate with uranium, etc. With COVID, there were no rules in place, and there was already a global worry about this being a major issue in terms of safety. So the way we were able to come back to campus at the start was through a request of the Prime Minister's office and a minister's office, who asked all the universities to please allow for COVID research to happen on campus so that we can understand what the safety rules need in order for us to operate safely. On top of that, the Prime Minister and Minister Baines's office suggested that we also consider making sure that critical infrastructure continued to operate, things that would blow up if someone wasn't available to look on it from time to time. So that was at the start of the pandemic. And so we allowed individuals to come on campus without a safety plan, no guidelines. All through the summer, we were getting feedback from the provincial office, public health, as well as the Public Health Agency of Canada. Okay, now you must do this if you want somebody on campus. Then a few weeks later, you must do this. So all through the summer, there were evolving safety guidelines as both the federal government and the world learned more and more about the pandemic. So each time we got a new safety procedure, then that needed to be incorporated in what the safety office needed to evaluate. And sometimes there needed to be a back and forth with the researchers on campus to say, well, you need to do this. I would say about the middle of July, we finally received a document saying, here's the safety guide. Just like you have a document for here's the safety guideline for uranium, we have a document. Here's the safety guideline for working in a COVID environment. At that point, we were able to train a series of faculty safety officers across campus. And then through that training, now have a different process whereby it goes to the faculties for review, etc. And now we're working under that process, and we have it automated through an automated process. So I think it's the combination of evolving safety guidelines, as well the interest in the institutions and the federal government that all universities work in lockstep on this, and then eventually having a safety guideline in place meant that we could do training of safety staff and run this through a smoother process and create an automated process. So I think partly it is because of all of these issues. You know, I think that most people don't understand that we have to operate under safety rules, and that these safety rules need to be in place in order for us to be able to bring people on campus, and that we didn't have any for COVID. You know, we started off with the Prime Minister having to give us a letter saying, please let them come on campus. And then, of course, now as of July, August, we do have safety guidelines. So I'd be interested in hearing if there's still problems as of today being able to operate. Of course, field schools and field work is in a different category because it means going off-site. Often it means going into another province, and sometimes it also means trying to going to indigenous land, and so all of those need to be treated differently, and there's also process associated with those as well. I hope that's helpful.
Very much so. Thank you, Charmaine. And while you're still with us, I might just read this question that has come in. The President spoke about ongoing work in the community to tackle racism. The question is, what is the community collaborative actually doing to inform what you do to create and achieve change?
Mm-hmm. So that's a good question. So first off, what is the community collaborative? In case that's a helpful question to answer, when the President issued a request for individuals to come forward to let's tackle anti-racism on campus, what initiatives need to be in place, a variety of individuals step forward to say, yes, I have a voice, I'd like to have a voice on this, here are things, I have ideas, I need to see this happen. So all of the individuals who had an interest in leading the university through the anti-racism efforts, they are what formed what's called a community collaborative. So they are now the foundational piece by which we go back to find out whether the steps and processes we take are appropriate through consultation with them. Of course, this community collaborative is growing. As individuals talk to each other, then they ask whether or not they can join this force. The name Community Collaborative was developed by someone within the Community Collaborative itself. And so, everything that we do, we go back to them to find out whether or not it makes sense. So over the months of August, individual consultations with each member of the community collaborative led to an identification of key thematic areas that seemed really important to this group for us to progress as an institution. And then being able to take those and assemble those into key thematic areas and now send those out to the community at the University of Waterloo as a whole, then go back to the community collaborative to validate that these are the topics we're going to. And now the next step with the community collaborative will be a series of meetings to pull these together into working groups that they will populate themselves and then form the President's Anti-Racism Task Force. So you know, I'll say a couple of things also. So this is a group that is very important for the consultation process. And they've told us that it's really important to consult. We know that in order to do things right, you know, we need to consult. Most people would say, all right, just get it done already. You know, let's move this along. But the voices that we have heard have said, you may have heard what is happening elsewhere in the world, but we have the context of Waterloo, and you need to listen to us within that context. So there is a sense of keep that foot on the gas, you know, but at the same time, there is a sense that come back to us, let us help shape what's going on, because we have the Waterloo context that we can bring information to, from the wellness collaborative, you know, all the way through to teaching and pedagogy. So it's a balancing act between, you know, just get it done already to make sure you listen to us and consult. So their work, I think the key question was, how are they involved? They are involved in informing the whole process by which we operate and making sure we always go back to them to consult on next steps.
Thank you, Charmaine, and thank you, Feridun, for your leadership on this overall. I have one more comment to share that's come in through the live Q&A chat, and then one final question, because we do want to be able to wrap up and let people get on with their afternoons. Feridun, someone sent a thank you for the thank you days in the Q&A. They want to thank you for that, and it has over 50 likes so far. So lots of appreciation for that show of support for our employees and staff. The question is about one of our most one of the most critical high value areas at the university, and that is our cooperative education program. And it's a question about what the university is doing to bring co-op employment levels back up to pre-COVID levels. A great big effort, a high priority, but the question's what are we doing around that effort to get back to previous levels?
Sure. Sandra, again, I tried to touch on this, and I will give Nora a heads up to jump in. But if there were so many things that I confess, okay, kept me awake many nights, and it wasn't just me. Many of us stayed awake because, as much as I used to say, well, there's nothing that can keep me awake at night, but there are so many exciting things that wake me up in the middle of the night. This was different. It did really, they did keep me awake, and co-op was on top of that list. Seeing our students, their plans, their dreams being shattered by withdrawn job offers and not being able to complete some of them, their terms, but we all came together. It wasn't just the university community, it was a much broader, our alumni, our government partners, our employer partners. We all came together and said we have a responsibility to fulfill. We have a job to do, and that means that we need to provide as many co-op job possibilities and opportunities. We diversify our faculty colleagues. They were quite flexible in accommodating the needs of our students. Employers, I heard employers at the beginning of this pandemic, Sandra, they provided our students with rental cars to drive back to Canada from California. Like all of these things, they're just few examples. We have a very comprehensive plan under Nora's leadership that we are determined to bring our co-op employment rates back to pre-COVID dates. So I'm going to ask Nora to share some of those. and I am quite determined, and I have a great, confidence that we are moving definitely in that direction. Nora?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to this and for the question and for your support, Feridun, over this time, as well as the team has really rallied behind this very, very important challenge that they are faced with. And probably historically one of the most significant challenges to the co-op program. But what's really wonderful is that we have a strong, solid team. We have a very strong set of employers who, and you've pointed out a couple of examples, who are very committed to our students and who realize that their futures depend on making sure that that talent pipeline continues. And you made reference to the Fortune 500 companies that you were speaking with previously and why this is so important. So with respect to the strategies and the specific question, we've undertaken what we call our C3 initiatives, which are about 5 or 6 strategies that relate to this critical co-op challenge, so C3. And the strategies, there are a few of them that are working with our employers to ensure that there aren't any barriers or challenges to an employer getting the student that they want when they want them. So we've made some process improvements, we've streamlined some things, and we've made available to our employers, with partnership with the federal government's wage subsidy programs, the option to have access to a great number of wage subsidies as an incentive to support employers during this difficult time hiring our students. A second array of strategies relate to our student body and helping the students engage as flexibly with the co-op program as they can and with the supports that they need to participate. And finally, we've launched the University of Waterloo Co-op Challenge, where we've built upon and leveraged our own networks, our alumni, our staff, faculty, anyone that we can think of who may have a connection that could be interested in hiring a co-op student. And the final one is our international. So I thought I would mention that because initially when co-op first struck, we were very concerned about getting our students in a safe place. Then as students in some cases return to their own homes, their own home countries, we have now been able to help them secure employment within their home countries, and we are seeing a significant growth in international co-op work terms, whereas there was quite a period where we weren't really able to do much over the spring term, and in the fall term that's grown exponentially, and so we see further growth in that regard as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Thanks very much. Feridun, I think it's that time where we begin to wind down this latest edition of the President's Town Hall. Thank you, Feridun, very much for your presentation, your comments, and your thoughtful answers to the questions. I think to our audience, we owe them a big thank you for spending a good part of your afternoon with us and asking the kinds of questions and engaging in the breadth of discussion that shows just how committed and engaged you are in your work, in your research, and in your studies here at the university. So with that, I think that's the last you'll hear from me, and I'll turn it over to Feridun.
Thank you so much, Sandra. First, again, let me thank you for your wonderful, emceeing this event. Thank you so much. And I also thank everybody who attended to this town hall meeting today. And I regret very much that I'm not able to just look at you and see each other face to face. I hope that soon we're going to be able to do this. I can't tell you how good it feels actually to see people face to face. Of course, safety is very important. Yesterday, Sandra, I walked down to the front office of the registrar's office, and I got the chance to talk to four of the staff members who were there, and it was fantastic. It was energizing. That energy just propelled me out of the Needles Hall. I took a walk around, and everybody walking around, we're waving each other. We are thirsty just to say, hey, we are able to see this. I am seeing you perfectly well on the screen, but it's not the same as seeing people in blood and flesh. It's been an incredibly challenging ride at times a rough ride, at times exhilarating. I am grateful to my colleagues. I really mean that. All my vice presidential colleagues, the council colleagues, everybody, executive council colleagues, we grabbed this big bloody bull by the horn and said, well, we're not gonna let you, push us away. We're gonna tackle this. There are so many people that it will take the entire afternoon for me to acknowledge and thank. But let me first thank Charmaine for her tremendous leadership in many things, but especially in this whole anti-racism commitment of the university, so leading it so nicely. I had the pleasure, I don't think that I could again be talking about these so many things had it not been a great, unbelievable commitment of Dave Davidi, Kathy Newell Kelly, Chris Reed, taking tremendous ownership of many of the issues, working with all of their colleagues across the campus, making sure that our students were fine, our faculty members are fine as we can be, and we were moving forward. I have two individuals I want to single out as well. Kate Windsor. She worked day and night, and made sure that our campus was a safe place for everybody. Thank you, Kate. And Nick Manning, you didn't sleep. You kept me awake. You woke me up, but you made sure that we all the time we communicated, we passed information, we kept everybody informed inside and outside of the university. Thank you, both of you. And Sandra, my great big thank you to, again, your office, your team, and David and Brandon particularly for arranging this day, for making this fantastic community event such a great excitement for all of us. Thank you and stay safe. Hope to see all of you very soon in person.